Hey, 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 Bible Alone is here. And I thought we'd talk more about the plane designer and talk about the individual modules that are available, because there are a lot of modules, a bit like the tank designer, that are kind of hidden away in the tech tree. So I thought I'd show you guys and give you my kind of first impressions of how I think they're going to work and whether they're worth even researching. Trust me, you will come away from this video learning about a new plane designer module that you did not know about before. Guaranteed. And if you did know them all, you can comment below and tell me I'm a big brain, I know everything. Anyway, here we go. I think it might be a good idea to start with the tech tree and just go from here. So first of all, of course, most of the modules are in here, the aircraft tech tree. So let's have a little cheeky look. First of all, we have bomb locks. Bomb locks are pretty cool in a way, because they allow like a fighter plane or a heavy fighter or even just a tactical bomber with some machine guns on it to have the ability to do close air support, naval strike, and logistical strikes. For the most part, naval striking, the ability to do that anytime you like is so OP. Then we've got small bombs, medium bombs, and large bombs. Large bombs, I don't actually know how they're categorized. It's interesting how the small bomb bay loses loads of agility, and the large bomb bay, you don't have the ability to do close air support. It's only specifically for bombing. But the only big difference between the three is that you can't do a nuclear strike on the small one. So just have a little cheeky look. It says lop into a medium. And of course, the medium does not have the ability to drop any bombs. No, it does! You could put a small bomb bay on to a fighter. Wow! It offers you a decent amount of ground attack. However, you lose 20 agility. So you never really want to do that. And then you've got the medium bomber, which is the medium bomb bay. It works exactly how I thought it would. Small frame, small bomb bay. Medium frame, medium bomb bay. Large frame, large bomb bay. It is what it is. And it does appear that the medium seems to be the best middle ground, because you only lose 5 agility with the medium bomb bay, and you get a nice girthy 3 ground attack. If you go for bomb locks, you gain 6 ground attack. But then you can fit on 2 and then fill the rest out with other bomb locks as well, gaining you a massive overall 18 ground attack. Could be worth. But a small bomb bay offers you 8 ground attack. You just never really want to do it. Whenever you're going to put a bomb bay inside of a fighter plane, your fighter is meant for agility and kind of cost effectiveness. So I feel like it's something you wouldn't really do that much. And of course, the key point to take home from here is that the medium and the large can do nuclear strikes. So that's right, tactical bombers now, guys, can do nuclear strikes. That is brand new. Another one note too is it appeared that bomb locks are like super cost effective as well. They're only 1 production cost, but you get the ability to use loads of extra missions. So it makes me think to myself, if you want a fighter that has a little bit more flexibility once you already control the air, maybe having bomb locks on them might be worthwhile. Next up is the photo reconnaissance. So it lets you do the spy plane mission. Now, before, it never really was really worth your time because you had to individually research the spy plane, then you had to research the camera. I really wish this camera was cheaper, and also the research cost was like 50 days, because otherwise people are never going to go for this. Because when there's a barrier to click something to do it, people are less likely to do it. So I don't think they're going to do it unless they've massively buffed air reconnaissance, which I really don't think they have. But it's there if you want it. My personal opinion, I won't bother. Machine guns. So you have a 2x machine guns, you have 4x machine guns, then you also have the actual turrets themselves. Turrets are what you add onto your bombers, but you lose agility with that, and they tend to be a little bit more expensive. And overall, more machine gun fire. But the bigger machine guns you go for, you will gain extra weight. Getting extra weight means you lose extra speed. So is there a meta between putting the smallest amount of lightest machine guns on a fighter? I don't know. We'll find out as time evolves. But for the most part, there might be some kind of middle ground of heavy machine guns, which comes with this technology that comes later on, which might be more worthwhile to have the more air attack. But from my perspective, it looks like air attack counters air defense. So if a fighter doesn't have a lot of air defense, which most cases it won't, there won't be much point even going for this. Anyway, next up, the heavy machine guns. So the machine guns, again, they're heavier and they do more air attack. Where is the middle ground with this? Where do they really fit in? I can understand if you go for a heavy fighter that has a purpose of shooting down bombers, having that extra air attack is going to be worthwhile to counter the air defense. But where else would it really fit in? I'm not certain. Next up, we have heavy machine gun turrets. Once again, giving you more extra air attack, overall potential. It makes me wonder if it's worthwhile even going for these turrets, or whether it's just to stack more armor onto your bombers. What is a better bomber? One that has air attack, or one that just stacks the most overall defense? Because you think about it, you've only got a set number of module slots on your large airframe or your medium airframe. So what's better, the armor or the turret? I don't know. Plus, these are also pretty expensive as well, because that means your large airframes are going to get mad expensive. Man, an actual flying fortress looks like it is actually going to be possible. The next up are the cannons. So cannons are just kind of like heavy machine guns, but they have more air attack, they cost more, they weigh more, and you do lose some agility. My suggestion here is I think this is meant for heavy fighters to shoot down bombers. You've got the speed, you've got the air attack, you shoot down those bombers. Bang, 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 they shut down, they go through their air defense, and they're down. The loss of agility really doesn't matter too much when you're going to be shooting bombers alone, but then when the bombers are going to be escorted by fighters, things will change a little bit. Be aware, look how they're very weighty, these, so I don't think you'd ever put these onto fighters, and also the production cost is kind of heavy as well. So once again, I feel like this is a little bit niche. It's specifically for that anti-bomber plane. And then you've got cannons too as well, which unlocks you an insane amount of air attack. So basically countering more late game defense. It's strange how the attack comes later, but the defense is here. You can research that straight away. So you can put on lots of defense immediately, but you can't get the attack until later on. I don't know how I feel about that. It feels almost like survivability studies needs to be like 1939 tech. I feel it feels a bit strange that it's 1936. It feels like you can go for the defense, but then the planes you won't be able to shoot them down until you get the cannons later on. That's how I feel. I might be wrong, though. Might need to do some more testing on that one. And also, you have the cannon defense turret, which I suppose is your version of a cannon fixed into a turret. Once again, does lots of air attack, lose lots of agility. But my goodness, they're expensive for the amount of air attack you get. Ooh, I'm not sure about that, guys. I suppose you have the ability, if you want to make a bomber that has an insane amount of air attack. But why would you ever do that? I don't understand. You would make a bomber that has the ability to shoot down other bombers? Now, I might be misunderstanding the historical context behind this, but it feels to me like air attack is the ability to shoot down bombers, not to use as an anti-bomber tool. The anti-bomber bomber is the new meta, boys. You've just heard it first. Anyway, survivability studies is the next one. You have the ability to put on light armor. This one, where is it? Hang on, no. Sorry, light armor's here, medium armor's here, heavy armor's here. Lights go on light frames, mediums go on mediums, heavies goes on heavies. As you can see, you lose range when you add this on. However, you gain a nice chunky amount of air defense. However, the price is pretty expensive too. So it's kind of a catch-22. I think there is going to be some kind of meta, though, of adding a ridiculous amount of armor onto a plane. But then I suppose losing that range is going to be very, very painful. These ones are so awesome. They are no-brainers. They do cost rubber, though, which is interesting. Oh, I never thought of that. It uses rubber. So that's the big downside to this. The production cost is so mild, but the overall cost of extra rubber is quite painful. And the weight is quite light too, but you gain a very nice big chunk of air defense. I can feel like the average fighter will have this on. This will be standard. But the only downside you have to think about is obviously the more rubber cost. It's just straight up more air defense, but there's no actual overall big penalty other than weight, which reduces your speed by a small amount. Next up, we have engines. So we have, looks like single engine, double engine, triple, quad. You get the idea. And once again, they're built for different aircraft. So the small airframes can have a single plane, a single engine and a dual engine. The mediums can have I think a dual, maybe even a single engine as well. And then the triple. And then the large plane obviously gets the 6 engines, 4 engines, or 3 engines. I think they have 3 of a kind. And as you upgrade them, there are 1 upgrade, 2 upgrade, 3 upgrade. Pretty standard, really. You gain more speed overall, and you gain more thrust. Thrust allows you to add on more modules onto your aircraft. As you notice, though, the cost goes up pretty big too. So the initial cost for a single engine is 1 production cost, which is awesome because you can make a really cheap fighter, which is brilliant. But then you go for a quad engine and the cost is 6. And then if you go up to a engine 4, the initial cost for 1 engine is 4 production. Get a bit expensive. And then a 6 engine is 24 production cost, but the thrust of 125. I feel like the only time you're going to do this is if you're making a heavy bomber that is just smeared full of turrets because of the heavy weight cost. I feel like there's only the reason for that because the overall thrust this has is 125 and then the weight of this is 8. That's the only way I can think of it. Large bomb bays have a weight of 10, so overall the turret is not much different to the big bomb bay. Anyway, the final research here, range improvements, allows you to add extra fuel tanks on. So this is the light one, the medium one, the heavy one. Adds a decent amount of range. However, you've got a bit of a cost behind it. The cost isn't too bad. It's quite mild. But then you lose a load of air defense. I wonder if it's possible to make a plane with ridiculously long range, but you don't really care too much about the air defense. For instance, like a naval bomber or long ranges, for instance. So let's say you make a long range large airframe naval bomber and you could put loads of fuel tanks on it. Guys, it's going to be so cool. Are we going to make a modern airframe full of extra fuel tanks? And the range was 7,000. I think, is this plane going to be able to go around the world? That is pretty cool. Also, there is the drop tanks as well, which is something that they added on to fighters late in the war to escort the bombers as further as possible. So it's basically a fuel tank. When it's become emptied, they drop them. And it offers you an additional 300 kilometers range. But overall, oh, wow, it has no penalty to defense. So the only downside to this is you have the extra weight, which reduces your overall speed. Cool. Surprising, though, the range improvements is not a technology that comes late in the game as well, because you think that'd be something that they'd try and invest into later on. It feels a bit strange to me how some of these technologies, for instance, survivability studies, feels like something you need to be at war with to understand the survivability of planes. It feels like the range improvements too needs to be like later technologies as well. Hey, don't get me wrong, I like the fact they're earlier on. Anyway, we're not done here, boys. So here are all the chassis. Got the modern ones here as well now. Would you like a modern carrier airframe? Very nice. And now we have jet engines. So we'll hop over here to the engineering. So experimental rockets unlocks the rocket site, the one that we build all the time, right, guys? Because they're so OP. Not. Next up, we have rocket engines. So rocket engines have a crazy high cost of tungsten. Portugal's going to get these rockets. Nobody else. With a massive penalty to range, decent thrust, but an absolutely awesome max speed. So what you're making with these is interceptors, basically. They have the ability to have amazing speed to intercept. I presume max speed is like your main interception stat. You want to move as quickly as possible to intercept to initially do damage. So you would stack air attack, like your cannons, as well as max speed. And as you get more and more missile techs, you can upgrade them even more, and you gain more range as well. Apparently, I spoke to one of the devs at PDX, and they said that this range is not accurate. They were significantly shorter range than what is in the game. They had to make the range longer to actually make them useful. But look at the speed on this. 1,200 kilometers per hour speed. I had to think about that. That's insane speed. It makes me wonder, though, with a massive 80% reduction in range, how far will that actually get? Will that be able to cover 100% of an air zone? I don't know. Anyway, jet engines. Ooh, yeah. So the only downside of jet engines is their cost. So here we go. Singles, doubles, triples, the same format as before. They require tungsten, not a massive amount though, just a small amount, not like rockets which require a stupid amount. The consumption of fuel is quite high too. The speed is fantastic, and the biggest bonus of jets is the fact that you have an insane amount of thrust. So these babies will be able to carry anything on them. You'll be able to put these engines on and then fit every module slots with the heaviest stuff you've got possible, because these babies are super quick. Let's compare them actually. So like say this, the best jet single engine has 650 max speed and 36 thrust. 650, 36. 650, 36. Yeah, so it's exceptionally better than the Mark IV engines. 100 kilometers per hour faster and also more thrust. It started to make me think, you know, now, a rocket interceptor might be some weird, janky meta because of the absolutely insane speed. I need to try that out. Okay, now let's look at some of the hidden modules for the plane designer. So, on the mechanical computing, we have the bomb sights 1, which just gives a flat bonus to strategic bombing. Can't complain about that, really. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're making a strategic bomber, you want to stack as much strategic bombing as possible. It is what it is. And then if you go down to improve computing machine, you've got bomb sights 2, which increases it by a further 2 extra strategic bombing. Once again, you put one of these on, it's a no-brainer. Okay, radio. We have unlocked the radio navigation. Now, what's interesting about this, you presume radio is something to do with bombing, right? Which makes sense because you gain extra strategic bombing, right? That's fine. However, you can put this on fighters. Just think about that for a second. You can put this on fighters. So fighters have the ability to have a reduction in night penalty when fighting. Would this kind of be a historical thing the British fighters did in the Battle of Britain to spot the bombers? But regardless, 10% reduction in night penalty is pretty decent if stacked. So it's an interesting strategy here. It's what you'd think you'd use it for, but however, will the meta turn into radio navigated fighters? Maybe. Anyway, more radar research. We have radio navigation 2, which reduces night penalty by another 20%. Once again, reducing the night penalty even more. There's some massive opportunities here to add a lot of different radio tech onto bombers to give it a massive amount of punch when it comes down to radio bombing. I wonder if maxing out strat bombers now is going to be insane. All right, next up, we have Improved radar tech. Radar tech 2. We now have the air-ground radar. So this one doesn't actually give information what it actually does. A set of radio antennas on a plane allows the trained operator to find airborne targets even in the darkness. An air-ground radar. We'll have to come back to that one and have a look at what they actually do. Boom. Let's just have a little look and see how it would get used. So large airframe. So here we go. Anti-air radar. So when on interception missions, specifically interception missions, you will have a reduction to night penalty of 20%. But it has a production cost of 4. Oh my goodness, it's so expensive. It makes me think that they've massively buffed strategic bombing at night. And this is kind of the counter of how to get around it. Anyway, next up, air-ground radar. So when doing strategic bombing, naval strike, or port strike, or naval patrol, you will gain surface detection, sub-detection, strap bombing, and night penalty reduction for 2 production costs. So it's basically a way of supercharging your naval bombers. That's pretty cool. Nah, no doubt about it. If you're making the really OP naval bomber, this is what will get included. That's really, really good. Okay, 2 unlocks air-ground radar 2 and anti-air radar 2. Let's have a little cheeky look to see the difference. So anti-air radar 2 reduces night penalties by 40%. Now we're talking. But wow, the cost is 6 production costs. My goodness. And then the next one is anti-air radar 2, which gives a lot of cool bonuses and night penalty reduction by 40%. So basically bomb those ships at night. And by the way, you can actually add this onto a fighter too. This is not a bombing thing. Wow, that's really interesting. Interception minus 40% night penalty. But man, I can't get over that 6 production cost. That's really, really pricey. Specifically when it's a defensive one too. It only works on interception. It'd be kind of cool if it worked on air superiority as well. It worked kind of like on the offensive as well as the defensive. That's kind of sad. Hey, we're not done yet. Here we are in the naval support tech tree. You're probably thinking to yourself, hang on, Dave, Navy for a plane module? What would be in here, eh? Huh? What's going on? That's right. Aerial mine laying. I bet you forgot this even existed, didn't you? So this module costs a production cost of 2, weight of 2, and it is specifically for mine laying. And that's the maximum penalty you can get if you max out 1,000 mines in a sea zone. Invasion penalty plus 50%, so it makes naval invasions very difficult. Reduces naval speed by 80%. That's massive when it comes down to an actual battle that happens at sea. And accident chance increases by 15%, which is not really that high if you think about it. And also what comes with that is the one here in the bottom right. The bottom right, boyo, is aerial mine sweeping. That's right. Mine laying comes first and then mine sweeping. 3 production costs. Oh my goodness, so heavy. 20 weight? You lose agility with this as well. So this is not just something you can add on as a secondary to mine sweep. This is pretty expensive. And you can sweep twice as fast as you can mine lay, which kind of makes sense, I guess. But my goodness, the weight, 20 weight. Man, they made laying mines so much easier than sweeping them. This is kind of a no-brainer, really, but basic torpedo unlocks the torpedo mounting. So you can't actually make a naval bomber until you've got the first research for basic torpedo. It's just something that's nice to know, because there are some nations at the start of the game that don't have torpedo unlocked, but they have the first submarine hull unlocked. So a torpedo-less submarine. Why would you do that? Well, you wouldn't, but there you go. And here we are, the final upgrades for planes, guys. And surprisingly, it's in the artillery tech tree. And it's the very bottom here, advanced artillery upgrade, the heavy howitzer. That's right, guys. You can mount a heavy howitzer to your fighter planes to do devastating ground damage. I just totally made that up. Okay, it's under anti-tank, and it is this. It is the anti-tank cannon. So if you want to be able to deal super amounts of close air support damage, you can now add on anti-tank cannons. It isn't just effective against tanks, it also does damage against everything, a flat amount. It's very expensive, it's very heavy, you lose loads of agility, and you gain a hefty amount of ground attack. Now, surprisingly, what's weird about this, you can have an unlimited amount of anti-tank cannons on your plane, as many module slots as you've got. However, if you get the third anti-tank tech, this one, the anti-tank cannon 2, which once again does some insane ground attack, but is so expensive and hurts your agility so bad, you can only have one of these. So you can have one anti-tank cannon on the front of your plane, and then the rest of them have to be anti-tank cannon 1s. Why? I don't know. I have a feeling that might be a bug. Now, this isn't a meme, but prepare yourself. You probably think it's a meme. Rocket Artillery 1 allows you to unlock rocket rails. Oh man, this is good. So it's only got 1 production cost. So you think, oh, are we getting a bargain here? Is this a cheapo? Is this a sale? And then we get our fighter, and then we add it on. Cast weapons, rocket rails. So it has only one production cost and one weight, so it's fairly light. However, it only gives you ground attack of 4. So bomb locks gives you more ground attack, and small bomb bays give you more ground attack. So it just kind of makes you think to yourself, like, where does this fit in? I guess it's a version of bomb locks that's less flexible, does less damage. I've just realized what it does. It's just dawned on me. The description says, unguided projectiles hung under the wings. Since they are fired ahead of the attacking plane, it is a lot easier for the pilot to aim at the target compared to bombs. So they don't have to be aimed. Do you know what that means? When you do close air support, you don't lose any agility. It just dawned on me. Paradox, you're amazing. That is actually really cool use of rockets. They actually have a purpose now. So you can add these onto your fighters for very little cost. And when you do close air support missions, you won't lose any agility. And you can do casts, and you can also do logistical strikes. Whoa, rockets. Rockets are back, baby. That's really cool. And you lose a tiny amount of speed and you gain a tiny amount of weight because the rocket rails don't really weigh that much. That's amazing. I like it when future technology doesn't necessarily have the best stats. However, it has more practicality. And that is such a cool way of including it in the game. Oh, clap, 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 Paradox. That's so cool. I feel like I'm learning about history as well. There you go, guys. That was a complete guide to the plane modules. Did I forget any of them? I probably did, actually. There might be one hidden away somewhere. Let me know in the comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. This is the next video. Hey, give it a try. Or don't. It's up to you.